Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's our weekend roundup as we check in with our teams and see how they got on. I'm Stephen Brown, and joining me, representing Huddersfield Town, it is Mr. Stephen Downs. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening.
By huge demand, at long last, we've got him back on the podcast. It is David Foy. It is Mr. Shaman Stats here to chat all things Halifax Town. Welcome back to the show, mate. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's just I just happened to work a job where my hours are settled every week, and we've recorded a couple of podcasts that just haven't coincided. We've been able to come on and be a guest basically, and it's good to be back. Yeah.
That's not true at all, ladies and gents. He's actually been in Barbados on a towel sunbathing. You not see that tan that he's got on? Yeah. Come on, Dave. Tell us the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in the boiler room, aren't you? Actually, I remember was it transfer deadline day where you literally were melting whilst we were away on it?
It might as well have been Barbados in that room. But then,
it was really warm that night.
I've never seen a man in pain trying to talk as much as what Dave was that night. I have to say, it's one of my favourite moments of the pod.
What a trooper though. You stayed on, mate. You stayed on. What can we say? We're hoping we might. I don't think it's going to happen, but we were hoping to get Lewis Sale on to chat a little bit about Bradford Park Avenue because they're in action now. And I tell you what, he's dropped in a picture of them chips on the WhatsApp group. I tell you what, they look cracking, them, don't they?
Yeah. They do.
If I can get that on to this stream, I'll show you a picture because it is absolutely fantastic.
We should rate food at football grounds, shouldn't we?
Yeah,
we should do like a little vlog of each of us going to a game and testing the food out. We like that guy, that guy who rate my takeaway. Rate my football ground food.
Yeah. Well, Lewis does it. He does like a match day picture. I think he should add the food in as well. Do you know what I mean? Add that in as well. What did you think of the food? So please pop a like if you're watching us on YouTube, and if you're listening on Spotify, please do leave us a rating and review. And you can subscribe on YouTube and Spotify for more content on all our teams across West Yorkshire. I should mention as well, Gaz will be on chatting Bradford City towards the back end of the show as well. Bless him, a bit under the weather for a few days. Old COVID got hold of him, so hopefully he's going to join us a little bit later and fill us in. I don't think Bradford City are making him feel much better at the moment. But we're going to start with the Championship. We're going to have a look at Huddersfield Town. And Steve, I think we described it last week. I can't remember if we agreed that it was a must-win game. I think we did, didn't we? But it was a 1-1 draw against Plymouth. A disappointing result, would you say, mate?
Yeah, we kind of, I think Jay said must win. I kind of said it kind of is, but it's definitely a must not lose. So we didn't lose it, but we definitely didn't win it. 1-1 draw, bit boring really. Plymouth's goal was really simple. If you've watched the highlights, it's passed into midfield and then to the left. The lad Whittaker crosses it, and the guy at the back post is like, he might as well have an ocean of space around him because it's just a bit embarrassing, really. I think Spencer loses his man. Young Spencer played. Brody Spencer, who's come back from Motherwell on loan, played really well. Apart from that, so it's disappointing that we let that kind of goal in, but we sort of dragged ourselves back into it. Had a couple of chances. Josh Karoma, Thomas had a few. Obviously, Matos went in at the back post, but each time it went into the side net. The keeper made a decent enough save. So, and then obviously we managed to get the goal that we scored. It should have been Jay. We all said in the WhatsApp group that. It should have been a foul, which I think it should have been. Matos absolutely takes the Plymouth lad out, and it ends up going in via a shot then from Karoma. So, we could have won it. They could have won it. They definitely could have won it. They had enough chances as well. And both sides, I think, they probably come up on an away game and say it's a good draw. I think we have to go away from it saying it's a bad draw, really. Yeah, it's a point, but we needed 3 points from it, really. I mean, they're not brilliant. They started like a steam train and then just fell off. And obviously, Schumacher's left now. The new guys come in. It's that new manager bounce. Don't know if it quite looked like that for them. I mean, the class player in their side's Whittaker by an absolute mile. I mean, he could get into any side in the Championship for my money.
Yeah. Huddersfield had 62% of the possession, but did they do enough with it for you, Steve?
No, we didn't do enough. No, I mean, that's a surprising stat, really, when you look at the majority of games under Darren Moore. It's been less, in some of them, it's been less than 30% possession. So it was it was nice to have the ball for a change, but no, we didn't do enough. Like I said, we created a few chances, we huffed and puffed, and, we could have won it. I don't think anybody coming away from the game would have thought, did we deserve to win it? Probably not, but did they deserve to win it? Probably not. So if somebody did win it, it was more kind of like we've got over the line, but I don't really know how we've won it kind of match that I think we've all pretty much sat through at one point in our illustrious football following careers so far. So yeah, we didn't do enough to get a winner, to be honest. No, is the simple answer to your question.
Yeah, and Big Bojan, he was out. Frustrating to lose him before the game, though. But apparently, Darren Moore said it's not a major issue. Expects him to be back pretty soon. Is that what's going on there?
Only town in our whole clubs. There's only town that could buy a player and he immediately get injured in training. Like, it's just a curse on our football club that happens. Bojan injured. Yeah, he got a knock in training. Yeah, like you said, Darren Moore says it's not serious, so let's hope he's back. He would have added, a sort of a physical presence up there. We're having to play Thomas and Karoma up there. They're not central strikers. They're wingers that are playing as, or trying to play central strikers. Thomas can't really win an header. Neither can Karoma really. They're fast. Don't get me wrong, and they can handle themselves, but not like a proper central striker can. So the sooner he's back, the better. Let's God for hope he's back for Blackburn at the weekend. Yeah, it was disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. Darren Moore said after the game as well that in terms of how the boys showed initiative, I've got nothing but praise for them. Do you agree with him, or?
It's kind of a football. It's a quote that means absolutely nothing, really, is it? Do you know what I mean? You might as well have peas in your tin of beans, aren't you? It's kind of what's the point of the quote? Yes, we showed initiative, right? Well, we scored a goal, brilliant. Okay, did we do enough to score a second goal? Probably not. So we didn't show enough initiative, did we? You've proved that we had 62% possession, and we didn't do as much as what we wanted to do with it. Yes, we had chances, and that's fine. We weren't creating chances earlier on in his Premiership, but we haven't got that quality to finish chances off. And in games that are tight at the bottom of the table, like this one was at the weekend, you need that bit of stardust. He didn't score a second goal for them, but you do need that bit of quality to get over the line, and we haven't quite got that at the moment.
No. After the game, something caused a little bit of a stir on Twitter /
No, did it?
Whatever you want to call it. It was a tweet from the owner, Kevin Nagel, who you actually interviewed on our channel last week. A brilliant interview. I recommend any Town fans, if you've not checked that out already, have a scout around the channel. You'll see it on there. But Mr. Nagel did get involved after the game. I think he only tweeted this out probably a few minutes after the final whistle, but essentially not good enough. Exclamation marks, all capital letters. And obviously it got a fair bit of engagement, Steve. I think he did a video a little bit later, didn't he? Like a kind of blog, wasn't there, that came out where he kind of expanded on it all. Obviously, around the time that you got the interview as well, he's come out and categorically said, Darren Moore's position is safe. But I mean, when you see things like that tweeted, I mean, what did you make of it? Are you worried that he's doing things like that, or do you think actually I'm glad to see an owner who's willing to actually put his feelings out there?
This is twofold, right? So Huddersfield Town fans have, as a group and a collective, have been quite fortunate over, I'd say, a decade, about having a number of owners that are quite vocal with how they're feeling about the football club, whether that's off the pitch things, on the pitch things, transfers, the rest of it, right? Whether that's on social media like what Kevin does, or regarding fan meetings like Dean Hoyle used to do. So we'd be in a bad relegation scrap. Dean would say, right, here's a Q&A. I'm going to throw everything out there. We'd all get together and have a pie and pea night at Canalside. He'd tell, 200 fans what he thought. That would then spread onto the forums and the old type of chats. And it will get sorted. And the fan base will go back to being its normal self. Obviously, with the engagement of social media, that's heightened things. And, at the beginning of Dean's time, Twitter and Facebook was around, but not to the extent it is now. So there wasn't that immediate need of overreaction and that kind of thing. Now we're living in a different age. We've got a different owner who's American, who is quite open and vocal about what he thinks about things. I personally don't mind that. I like the communication aspect of it. He's got a very good PA person in Dave, who he's called Carmichael Dave. He's on Twitter. He also engages with supporters. He was actually sat or stood in the Cowshed Loyal at the Plymouth game, which is obviously the main vocal town fan base in the stadium. And he was gathering intel, I suppose, on what people think. So, the top of the club, he's trying to communicate with us. And I suppose sometimes, he went a little quiet a couple of months ago on Twitter and he got absolutely barraged for going quiet. So he can't really win. He either says something and he gets absolutely slaughtered, or he doesn't say anything at all and gets absolutely slaughtered. He's in a no-win situation. I really like him. Obviously, I've interviewed him for the channel. I spoke to him on many occasions now. I think he does really want to try and engage with us as supporters. He obviously wants the best for the club. He also wants the best for his investment, which he's making, because he's not a traditional Huddersfield Town fan. But you have to say that he has also got things not necessarily correct. And I think that will be fair to say that supporters on the whole and generally and have been disappointed with Darren Moore's football, his appointment, the way he speaks. I've been critical of Darren Moore myself, but I think I've backed that up in terms of, for instance, against Leeds, when Edwards didn't play very well, an experienced manager in what Darren Moore is should have whipped him off after 5 minutes, and he didn't. So to me, that's a legitimate claim of why I don't think Darren Moore is the right person for our football club. He doesn't engage with supporters, and that's one thing you can't say that Kevin doesn't. I just think he's learning about British football. He's learning about the fan base still. And, I'm glad he put the video out to say sort of what he wanted to say as well. I think that helped. I think rather than just putting a tweet out saying not good enough after the game, lots of fans interpreted that as Darren's got about 3 seconds left in the job before he gets sacked. Mm-hmm. That obviously wasn't the case because he came out afterwards and sort of over-explained what he meant. And obviously, in the sit-down that he did with me and Chris, he said that there was no way he was going to sack Darren Moore. Obviously, if results continue and he continues to see the football that he saw on Saturday, then I think he's got to be asking serious questions. I still don't believe Darren Moore's the right person for the club, but that doesn't mean to say that I still won't support the team on a match day. And neither should other Town fans. But, obviously all power to people's opinions and what they think. Like I say, he's social media is volatile. You don't always get things right on social media. But would I rather have a chairman like Kevin Nagle compared to the one that's at Reading? Yep,
Yeah.
a million times, definitely.
Has the coaching session on not passing the ball backwards happened yet? Do we have any update on that, Steve?
I don't think he's quite had the meal with the players yet. I think that's to happen. Did he say next week?
Next week.
Next week, I think he said. So that'll be interesting when he stands up and he tells our professional footballers to not pass the ball back. I mean, that's brilliant. I love that. He's got the gumption to say to the players, stop passing the ball. In fact, I'd go a step further. If they pass it backwards, they get fined. That's what I would do. They cannot pass it backwards. Even if they hoof it upfield and it goes to nobody, it's still not being passed backwards. So there we go. So I'd go a step further, Kev. If you want some advice, fine them.
Yeah,
that'll stop them passing back.
If you're watching, Kev, there you go. Take it a step further, mate. We look forward to the update on that. Steve, it's Blackburn Rovers up next, who are on a really bad run of form. I mean, they've just sank down the table, haven't they? I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if they're losing players or what's going on with Thomason there, but they're sinking like a stone. I mean, I know we said last week was a must win. I mean, you'd want a point at least from that one, wouldn't you want, Steve? I mean, preferably 3, obviously, but realistically, what can you see yourselves doing there?
Well, it's a big month. We recently played Blackburn, and they weren't very good, if I'm honest. I don't see why we can't go beat them again. They've got Smodricks, obviously flash player, and they have got some good players, but for some reason it's just not working out under Yondan Tomlinson, and I don't really know why that is, because he seems to be very highly rated in the football world, but there's always been a bit of discontent there, I think, behind the scenes, and so I don't see why they're not beatable, if I'm honest. I'd like to aim for 3 points. Never mind a point. Let's go get 3, because I don't see why we can't beat them.
No.
But yeah, it's be disappointing if we lost that one, because they've been on a bad run of form, and things don't seem happy there. So yeah, why not?
And we'll do it properly next week, obviously. But I mean, after that, it's huge, isn't it? Like you say, I mean, QPR and Sheffield Wednesday back to back after that. I mean, that's got to be the acid test for more, hasn't it? I mean, if he gets through that and picks up points, great. But if not, I mean, you can only see it going one way, really.
Yeah, the issue that we have is that once you get past Sheffield Wednesday, we then come into fixtures like Southampton, Leeds.
Yeah.
It's then you look at the run of fixtures and you think, oh my God, like if he don't get 9, like I said that he needed 7 points out of 4 games, but he's got 1. There's 3 games left. So he needs to win 2 of them for me. At least. I'll allow him 1 loss. Yeah. But really, in retrospect, I want him to get 10 points now. Yeah. But I'll allow him 1 loss. But we need to get at least 7, otherwise things are looking bad, because then the run of fixtures then's horrendous. I mean, yeah. Might get to a stage where I might just be like Dave and not be interested in it anymore.
You'll suddenly be working shifts.
I might come to watch Dave at his place of work. That might be more interesting.
Thank you for that, Steve. So we'll move on now. We'll look at Halifax Town. It's great to have you back on the show, Dave, to chat all things Halifax. By the way, do you wish your chairman was on Twitter or X?
I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy for him not to be on social media, to be honest. But at the same time, I support a club where, within reason, if you wanted to speak to him face to face, there'd be no opposition at all. You could speak to him certainly after the game. You might even be able to catch him before the game. I've approached him face to face. He's quite an approachable guy. But yeah, I'm quite happy for him not to be on social media. But just he must be the longest serving Halifax Town chairman, owner, whatever label you want to put on with it, on him in history. Unless you're going back to like 100 years ago, where we had like a manager for like 10 years or an owner, the same sort of people. So wow. I'm quite happy just the way he is in terms of his presence, of just not being on social media. I'm fine with that.
I wonder if he'd come on the show. Do you think we could get him on the show, Dave? That's the thing. I tried to get Millington. I nearly got Millington on a few weeks ago, and then it dried up. But yeah, I'm gonna have to make another attempt. I think.
Out of the two, you'd probably get Chris Millington a little bit easier than that. I've managed to speak to Chris Millington and Pete Wild at the same time when they both just newly been appointed, but it was for the club, so it was like a club interview by people from the club. So it was just there weren't really any opposition or there weren't any doors really. The first door you had to knock on was opened. It was just like, yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Who's the chairman? Who is the chairman?
David Bosenworth. Yeah.
All right. How long's he been there then? About what decade?
I think he may have been involved in the background along with Bobby Ham and Stuart Peacock from about maybe even people have said they were involved from Leicester back in 2006. We lost the playoff final in 2006 to Hereford United to get back into the Football League, and they reckon they were sort of there, but officially it's from the club getting demoted, liquidated, whatever you want to label it as, in May 2008. He was the owner along with Bobby Ham and Stuart Peacock. Both have took a step back since.
So is he quite well regarded by Halifax fans? Is there not much, sort of
he's always
discontent?
I don't think he's as bad as what some people make out that he is. Some people feel he could do more. Some people feel he does enough. Like I feel he missed a few opportunities to get a few more supporters when we were just smashing up the Evo Stick Unibond leagues, 100 points, scoring 100 goals. I think we had a real opportunity to try and grow the fan base a bit more. Some people like the tradition and they feel like he's done everything in his power when we reformed to not be the old club. And for me, I'm quite happy for that. Like obviously, get a fresh start, try and start again with a few people maybe, but some other people just don't like that. Like he does divide opinions. Some people feel he should push the boat out more. A few more people are a bit more conservative. I know he certainly comes across as it's very much like the club has to self-sustain itself almost. He's always been we've certainly not splashed the cash, put it that way. And I mean, non-league in general, I mean, it's been, we've had like as Wrexham's, Notts Counties, we've got Chesterfield, now we've got Oldham. Traditionally, there isn't really a lot of transfer fees or big transfer fees that happen in non-league, or they're undisclosed and you don't really know. And we've, as far as I'm aware, we've never really. I think the only guy I know we definitely bought were Jamie Vardy, and he cost us 15 grand, and we've made $500,000 in sell-ons from him. Apparently, I mean, getting back to obviously tying it in with David Bosenworth, we had so many add-ons with Fleetwood Town where he left. Somebody dropped in that if he should ever play for England, we'd get a certain amount of money, and I don't doubt for 1 second we may have even had that clause, as outrageous as that is. I mean, when he left Fleetwood to go to Leicester for $1 million, I think we pocketed 350 of that.
Yeah, we should have signed him. He signed for Halifax. And we got told about him, and Lee Clark went to watch him in about 2009 and said, "Oh no, he's not good enough. He's your bog standard non-league striker, and he'll never get anywhere." And that is one of the most famous sort of modern day Huddersfield Town players that we've missed out on, along with Ricky Lambert. Actually, that was the other one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, Vardy for half a season when we had him, it were like, yeah, he's quick, but he didn't do anything. And then February, March, all of a sudden, it were like he exploded out of absolutely nowhere.
How old were he at Halifax?
Would he have been in his early to mid 20s? I mean, when we signed him, he was on a tag. You could see it through his socks. He was on a tag for whatever.
Imagine kicking
reason.
that. You got injured by kicking him. Like, how did you get injured?
I don't know. Don't know.
Kicked a player back because they had a prison tag on them. Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Well, Dave, I mean, the season's been going really well. I mean, obviously, you've not played for a while. You've had a nice little break, and we will get to whether that's an advantage or a disadvantage. But last time out, it was a 3-0 loss against Southend. But, I mean, before that, you don't really concede 3 goals, do you, much, to be perfectly honest?
We haven't lost 3-0 all season. That's our heaviest defeat, I think, since I think it's in well over a year, Steve. Honestly, like early on in Chris Millington's managerial career, we lost 4-0 to Woking. I think we had a 4-1 against Notts County, but 3-0 is the heaviest defeat for like a year. We conceded 3 against Chesterfield this year. I don't think we've even conceded 3 against any other opposition. But at the same time, we've not scored 3 this season. If we've won a game, it's been 2-1 or 1-0. We average pretty much a goal a game. We concede a goal a game. I was looking at Millington's numbers earlier overall, and I mean our home record. I think we've played 13 and we've conceded 12 or something like that. We concede less than a goal a game at home. As away form's slightly better. So come out of nowhere, because all in all, people that went, feedback from Southend supporters were we actually didn't play that bad. We went 1-0 down after 4 minutes, which is always going to give you extra to do during a game. But up until going 2-0 down, I think we really knocked on the door for an equaliser, and we just conceded 2 really poor goals, which is very unlike us. I mean, I've been on the show previous talking about like the conveyor belt of injuries we seem to have. One thing I've neglected almost is Adam Senior and Jamie Stott at the back are absolutely ever present, pretty much. I mean, Senior got sent off, and I think he might have had a slight injury. But Jamie Stott's played every second of this season, and he's our other centre back, along with obviously Sam Johnson in goals, played every minute. You need that stability. I mean, we went to Southend, we're missing both of us wing backs, Ryan Galvin and Tyler Golden, through injury. And we were playing Capello, who's just come back from injury. And I think people that were there were saying that Jamie Cook even filled in at left wing back, and he's more of like an attacking midfielder / striker. So they were saying that Southend worked that end of the pitch really, really well, that had Cook on it. And if they hadn't have had the 10-point deduction, Southend United would be, I think, a point above us now. So it's not an unexpected loss.
Yeah.
But it's disappointing in the manner that we've lost it, and obviously it's heaviest defeat so far this year. Hopefully the heaviest until the end of the season.
Yeah, indeed. Because we were chatting a little bit with Lewis last week, and I kind of wanted to throw this out now that you're back on the show. Is, I mean, if you kind of rewind a year, probably maybe a bit more than a year now, but Millington was under serious pressure. I remember at the time when we used to have Tom Scargill on, and it was like defeat after defeat, and it was a real grind at that time. You just thought there's no way this guy's going to see it through, and then you just had this FA Cup trophy run going along in the background, and then you've gone and won it incredibly, and then this season it all seems to, on the surface, look as if it's kind of really going along really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, last season we started poorly. We sort of had a good run of form up to Christmas, and then we really dropped off. Like I say, this time last year, I were running the numbers earlier. We are 8 to 10 points better off at this point in the season than we were last season, and we're about 7 places above. We've already equalled. We only need a point to equal the away points total for last season, but at home we're 4 points behind where we were at this time last season. We've been consistent. We've been consistent throughout the season in that we've won 10, we've drawn 10, and we've lost 8. So it's hard. I mean, we've got +3 goal difference now. We'd have had +6 before Southend, but the lowest we've been 16th, the highest we've been 5th. Like, especially since the 5th tier introduced playoffs from 2nd to 7th, everybody's got something to play for, and it's been a godsend for clubs such as our size and stature. Your Halifaxes, Aldershot, Eastleigh. I mean, Eastleigh will do great things now. They're having a cup run. That's always what non-league teams do. I'm sure they'll leapfrog us at some point, but it was like those. There's a middle ground in the conference where it's like, it's teams like Halifax and Aldershot. I mean, again, I've spoken about them earlier. Chesterfield and Oldhams of this world have sort of distorted. They've distorted wages. They've distorted the sort of like the expectations of supporters. But there's like a middle ground in the 5th tier where it's given hope to about 5 or 6 perennial mid-table lower what am I trying to say? Lower mid-table teams that they can actually.
That kind of middle.
I know they'll have less chance of promotion, but they're still 6th and 7th to chase. If not, I mean, I'm speaking this way because we're like 12 points behind second. I think we're 10 points behind third. We're aiming 4th to 7th. Some supporters think we'll do it. Some supporters think we won't. I mean, we finished 11th last year after all the different runs we went on. I mean, we had a great end to the season, and I calculated that with 5 games to go last year, we could have still made the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean,
it required us to win every game, and we almost did it. We drew 1 game, and it was like, right, we can't now. We ended up finishing 11th. I think we finished 10 points outside the playoffs.
I'm looking at the table now, Dave. Obviously, you said that you're 15 points behind third. I mean, that's an amazing thing about the National League. You wouldn't think it's so close, but then every club after that, Solihull Moors in 4th, they're only on 46 points. You're only 6 points behind them.
Yeah.
But, like, you look at all the clubs in that middle bit. So obviously Altrincham, Solihull, Gateshead, Halifax, Aldershot, and then even lower down, like your Boreham Wood, Dagenham. Yeah. They're all solid National League clubs that have been there donkey's years, haven't they, really? The biggest surprise for me is Hartlepool are so low and York.
York have returned to the National League and never really. York are still pulling in nearly 5,000 every week.
Yeah.
And again, this feeds into the sort of David Bosworth's ownership, and our supporters base has never really grown. It's always just been 1,500 to 2,000. Even under Pete Wild, when we were second and top of the league, we were only just getting over 2,000.
Yeah,
because we're just perennial, just not bottlers. We've just never had that success. Like we went unbeaten in 97, 98. We won this league, and it weren't until we were like 10 points clear did we click over 3,000 at home. Everybody. I mean, the owner at the time spoke about it on a documentary that were done after, because Doncaster Rovers were absolutely dead and buried, and look what they did under. I can't remember the owner's name, but it's something Ryan, John Ryan, Jim Ryan. They went all the way up to the Championship. They got this new ground, and we just went the completely opposite way. Yeah. But that documentary were about Halifax Town are on the up, and look at another Yorkshire club that they've just replaced in the Football League who were an absolute laughing stock. Yeah. Our owner at the time said, I had a feeling that something would just go wrong because that's what happens. The ground wouldn't be good enough, or there'd be something, and we just ended up obviously carrying on. It would, probably great season for the club.
I find it mad that you only get 2,000, because obviously you look at the rugby club. The rugby club, they get about 1,500 to 1,800 averagely. They're for their crowd. So it's a bit. I think for obviously for good fans like yourself, you probably think it's a bit annoying, really, because you are a staple club in the well, I think you are anyway. You are a stable National League club. I don't. The thing for me is, how do you, and you watch them week to week, I mean, and you know the club inside out, but how do you break that ceiling? Because with clubs like Chesterfield now spending money, which they didn't arguably before. It's sort of new money. Wrexham, your Notts counties, that ceiling's become like Teflon, hasn't it, rather than glass?
Yeah, I mean, we've just got to bank on that 4th to 7th almost, especially this season. It's going to take a lot of luck, a hell of a lot of luck. I mean, I listen to podcasts, believe it or not, other podcasts all the time with people like Sam Allardyce, Warnock. Obviously, we know all about Neil Warnock, Mick McCarthy. They're all a certain breed of manager. And for all of the good that they've done, and they've kept teams up, they've done this, they've done that. At the end of the day, they've all said the same thing. The best teams win the leagues. You tend to finish where your calibre of player is. And I mean, Halifax has the best defence in the league, but good teams are built from the back. Absolutely. Alex Ferguson said that. He said, title-winning teams are built from the back, but he means that they can win games 1-0 where other teams might draw or lose. They gain those extra points, whereas we've got a good defence and we're not as good up front. And what will happen, those players that are good at the back will leave, and then we'll probably sign some players that are better up front and we'll have no defence. We never have it all at the same time, and that's the same for probably every club in the country other than like your Manchester Cities and the the Super League teams that can just go out and buy whatever they want. Every team will have that same complaint. I mean, there'll be lower league, Premier League teams that will say if we had XYZ fit, we wouldn't be in the bottom half or we wouldn't be in the bottom three. I don't believe that the problems that Halifax have are Halifax Town problems. Teams, I mean, we've had a lot of injuries, but probably none more so than Altrincham or anyone around us. I mean, I mentioned it on Twitter a few weeks ago. There was an Altrincham fan boo-hooing about the fact they had 5 players out. I was like, we've had players out all season. You know, like, it happens. It happens, you know. Everybody's saying we should aspire to be like Altrincham. They seem to be on the up, doing this, doing that. They're only a point clear of us. They've been a non-league team forever. Like, we've been in the Football League 80 years. And people seem to forget that. For good or for bad.
Is this why you're not doing the Altrincham save on Football Manager? Because you've got a bit of bitterness towards it. You can say it now, mate.
It might come as no surprise, but I have no feelings either way towards Altrincham, to be honest. Like, I really aren't bothered. You know what I mean? I just kind of concentrate on my own team, but when it involves my team, I have to get involved. So we drew 0-0, and they were sort of saying we've got this guy out, we've got that guy out, and I could match them player for player. Well, we've got him out and we've got this guy out. I fully believe if we could pick a fully fit team and we never had any injuries, we'd be second or third. But we don't. We have to mix it up all the time because we've got injuries. We had Rob Arker for God knows how long, so we're trying to ease him back in. Aaron Cosgrave's not very good. I don't know what else
say how you really feel.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he scored, including pre-season friendlies, he scored 4 goals. And they're all that same kind of goal. And they're the goal that I like, where they're low to the near post and he's there and he just puts it past the keeper. But he's never there because he's trying to get the ball off midfield or he's not in the box. Or sometimes when he's in the box, the ball doesn't go to him. He's just not that good. He's more like a supporter role. He needs a goal scorer next to him and it might bring out something better than him, but we've never had a settled side. We're trying Jamie Cook up front now with Cosgrave. We're trying to ease Harker back in. Thankfully, we've made a new signing and I'm sure we'll move on to that at some point, who on paper sounds quite exciting.
I mean,
round running.
Yeah, let's get to the signings then, Dave. Tell us who is this new striker and what are the plans?
So I think his name's Adan, or it may be Aiden. I'm not sure. It's Adan. I'm going to go with Aiden. He's called Aiden George, and we've signed him from Rushall Olympic, who are in the league below. And we could sign him because he was on non-contract terms with Rushall. And it's more of a non-league thing being non-contract. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that kind of contract, or if Football Manager.
I'm going to say that's what everyone's been moaning about in group chat. Yeah,
it's it's a double-edged sword for non-league clubs and players, because what you get, some of the more talented players, and we're hoping that this George is one of them, would almost dictate to the club, somebody like Rushall, well, to play me, I want to be on a non-contract. So if a team higher up the pyramid comes in for me, there's less in the way of me leaving to progress my career. So obviously it's not a great thing for a club because you'd want to tie him down to an actual contract. But sometimes it works for clubs in that it's almost like a trial. Like you could have a week-to-week contract. I think non-contract is a bit like that. You sort of play week to week, and obviously if you're not the standard that Rushall would want, they have the security of just not extending your contract, sort of thing. Non-contract's not something Halifax really dealt with when they've come up through the lower areas of non-league. Like, we just had contracted players. I think we had a few on non-contract, and they were literally our fringe players. Like, they'd play in... Back when Halifax were in the Unibond leagues, there was one season we won the league. We played 65 games because there was 40-odd in the league. We did 5 or 6 rounds of the FA Cup and still didn't get to the first round of the FA Cup, which is, trust me, is a separate subject. Do not get me started on the FA Cup. Honestly. Sorry, go on, Steve. What were you going to say?
I don't want to talk about the FA Cup either, mate, so it's fine.
No,
you continue.
You'd have the West Riding County Cup, which is still going on. I don't have a problem with it. But you'd have, like, the Unibond League Cup, the Unibond President Cup. And what were the point? We'd just play the same opposition. We'd play like Clitheroe and Wakefield and whoever. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like your Wakefields and Clitheroes didn't take it seriously either. But what were the point in those games? And we'd win a couple. And like I say, we played 65 games. And these players are still part-time. So.
Well, that's what does me. That's what absolutely enrages me about Pep Guardiola coming out and saying that his players can't play this many games when he's got an academy with 1,000 kids in it that will dream of playing for Manchester City. Yeah. The fact that Halifax had to play 65 games with people doing, that have been men, bloody glass workers, factory workers, and the rest of it is just, he needs a dose of reality.
Yeah, absolutely. You're playing again tomorrow for first time in a couple of weeks. Fingers crossed.
Pitch inspection.
Yeah,
there's a pitch inspection. So
snow
or frost or whatever.
Who was the team that did a
quite well this year?
But who was the team that did? Who was the team that did put a Saki tweet out last season when the game got abandoned? Do you remember?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Now? Yeah, it was someone.
Again, I try on social media. I actively try and avoid stuff like that to do with my club because I love going in with both feet. Like I absolutely adore.
Would it Barnet?
Barnet?
It would have been.
I think it was Barnet. Yeah.
I know Hartlepool. We had a game when Hartlepool were down before. We had about 3 or 4 postponements, and Jeff Stelling brought light to it because of his profile. The problem with it, Jeff, is each time the pitch was not playable. It rained. It was frosty. We weren't making it up. In the end, we beat them anyway. So
I've been there. I've been at Fax. I know it's a totally different sport, but I've been there for a rugby game in mid-February, right? And the ground has literally flooded, right? And I don't know how the game went ahead, but literally by the end of the game, every player was covered in that much mud. You didn't know who was on which side. It was mental.
I'm going to be honest. I don't want to talk about the rugby club sharing the ground. It's just one topic I don't want to get into.
No, I'm not saying get into
the FA Cup, I'll start and
you've hit a nerve there, Steve.
No, I know. I'm just talking about from personal memories from me working at the ground. I understand the pitch problems that can happen at the Shea Stadium. But no, you carry on, Dave. I didn't mean to interrupt. Bad memories don't.
Solihull Moors tomorrow night, Dave. What's going to happen if it goes ahead?
Well, obviously, we've looked at where Solihull are in the table. They've got 2 ex-Halifax players in the team, one of which is Matty Warburton, who's an attacking midfielder. So, I don't know whether we'll have the former player curse. They've got Jay Ben there, who I think is on loan from Lincoln. He joined Lincoln for an undisclosed fee. I think at the end of Pete Wild's last season, 22-23. So, he'd come through our youth system and we sold him for whatever. Again, it was undisclosed, as I said, but we sold him for a fee. I always back us at home. I'll never ever tell you. I'll never ever predict a loss at home. We could be playing literally Manchester City, and I'd be like, we'll probably get a draw. Do you know what I mean? I just will not ever say that we're going to lose at home, but we're going to have to be very, very good on tomorrow, to get anything out of the game. If you offered me a draw now, I would probably take it. I think second and third's out of the question now. They're just too far ahead and can just maybe get a point. We were in a situation where we were sort of in and around the playoffs, but had a 4 or 5 point gap on like 10th and 11th, and that's totally closed now. And Oldham have come into play. I think Rochdale are near us. We've still got Gateshead and Altrincham above us. But in terms of teams that are in the playoffs, we've beat Bromley at home. I mean, it was the first game of the season. We've got a pretty good record against the top 10. It's losing at home to Dorking and losing and drawing at places that are below us that's really let us down, as well as try to balance the injuries we have throughout the team. But I would take a draw now. But I'd like to think if we put in a good performance, I can't see why we wouldn't win tomorrow.
Good stuff. Thank you very much, Dave. Well, waiting very patiently in the wings is Gareth Walker on to chat all things Bradford City. Gaz, go on, Steve, what you saying?
Did you not want to do Leeds first?
Oh no, we'll forget Leeds for tonight. We'll have a break from Leeds, shall we?
No.
I'll
You're not going to get away with that,
game.
surely, are you? No. I know Gaz has been waiting and he's had COVID, but you lost 3-0. Just give us a quick sentence on Leeds.
Did you say we lost 3-0?
Eh?
Did you say we lost 3-0?
No, you won 3-0. I meant you won 3-0.
That's all. That's all we need to say, isn't it?
All right, okay. Right, Gaz. Hi, Gaz.
How you doing,
Gaz,
lads?
appreciate you coming on, mate. We know you're a bit sick with the old COVID's got you at last, so we really appreciate you coming on, mate. Thanks a lot. Bradford City, been a couple of games since we last talked on the pod last week. Obviously, there was a Football League trophy win against Derby, but obviously the more concerning matters is the league. 1-1 against Colchester. Your thoughts on that, Gaz?
A bit disappointing after Derby, really. I thought we played really well against Derby. Obviously, Derby were a class above and we did really well. We saw it out 1-0, scored from a set piece. And then he changed the formation going into that game from 3-5-2 to 3-4-3. And it seemed to work. It got Chapman and Poynton in the team, which fans have been craving. It works. They both had a good game. And then we kept that 3-4-3 for Colchester. And apparently we played really, really well first half. We were 1-0 up. Cook scored. We should have been more than 1-0 up. And then I'm not sure what happened second half, whether, like I say, it was us dropping off or them improving. But second half just weren't good enough by all accounts. And, we threw it away. We threw 2 points away. The goal that we conceded for the 1-1 is just a really bad goal when you're playing a high line. I mean, you lads know you've got to press from the front when you're playing a high line, and there were no press on the player that played the ball through. And then Taylor's nowhere near him, and then he beats the new keeper, who people are a bit doubtful about, beats him from a very narrow angle. So it's a really poor goal to concede. So, disappointing after the Derby game. A game that we probably should have won, or you would have hoped on paper we'd won. And having previously been what's on a 6-game winning run, we're now suddenly 5 games without a win, which is really disappointing.
Yeah, it's just kind of like you say, after that unbeaten run and this and a couple of departures in the week as well. I mean, a couple of surprising transfers out as well, isn't there, Gaz?
Harry Lewis is the one in here that everyone's talking about. Harry Lewis, obviously, last season was up there for Player of the Year with Andy Cook. Didn't probably get the plaudits from outside the club that Andy Cook got, but within the supporter base, everyone realised how good he was last year. And it was easy to argue that him and Cook carried us to that playoff place under Hughes. And he's not been as good this year, but we apparently couldn't agree a fee with Barnsley for him in the summer. And then he's been sold this January to Carlisle, who obviously beat us in the playoffs last year. Carlisle have a bit of money. They've been taken over by American owners, and they've signed Luke Armstrong from Harrogate for a fee. And then they've obviously gone and got Harry Lewis from us. So it's a bit disappointing. But like I say, he's not quite been at the level. Well, he hasn't been at the level that he was at last year now. Whether that's partly due to the Barnsley move not working out, or us just not being as good a side in general, I don't really know. But the strange thing was, not so much that he's gone. He had the rest of this year, and then we had an option to keep him for next year as well. But it's the replacement that people are scratching their heads at. You know, we've had success there with Harry Lewis signing a young up-and-coming keeper, and he's done really well, and we've sold him for money. And then we've gone and signed a 32-year-old who just seems to be mates with Colin Doyle, and that's why we've signed him. So people are a bit like, purely if you've done something right with Lewis, you carry on and you do it again with the next player, but we've not done. So maybe that's a sign that we haven't got any money to spend. There's rumours that selling Harry Lewis and obviously Jake Young's going to cover a deficit that we're in this year after use overspend. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's the rumour that's going around, that we need to cover that deficit. So it's disappointing if true, but yeah, we just have to live with it, don't we?
Yeah, it feels like, this season was supposed to be about pushing on from, getting in the playoffs last season, but I don't know. I mean, what I've been reading this week and how the fans feel about it, just feels like the club are almost just settling to cover the backs, really, and it's kind of mid-table mediocrity.
I think that's what the fans are fearing now. Like I said, this 5-game run we've had without a win or whatever is dampened the expectations that were built by that 6-game winning run. And Yeah, I think there were a few of us said in summer that this season were going to be hard. I think anyone that thought it weren't going to be hard were living in a dreamland. Like, it's a tough league this year, is League Two. I said that people that were saying that we'd finish mid-table wouldn't be far wrong, and that was probably because I wasn't convinced that we should have stuck with Hughes, and obviously we did. And then have we wasted part of the season by keeping him? Maybe we have. Alexander needs to be able to work on the squad and get his own players in, but it's a huge squad. And I can see more players leaving, to be honest, especially more. Well, he said that there'll be more leave than they'll come in. So, yeah, that tells a story in itself, doesn't it? Maybe we are looking at next year. They'll never admit that, but I think it's a long shot that we'll go up this year now. We're going to have to put another winning run together soon, sharpish, if we're going to do that.
Yeah. Bit of brighter news on the transfer front. A returning, well, I don't want to say a hero. It did end quite not as you would like, but Tyreek Wright is back at Valley Parade. Obviously, he made a big impact during his first loan spell before leaving last January, wasn't it? How do you feel about that one? Is that the right move at this time?
It's appeased a few supporters after the Lewis departure because obviously we were very popular. Actually, we only had him for 6 months. We had him for the first half of last season. He came in and he hadn't actually supposedly done very well in his previous loan spells, but he was fantastic for us in that first few months of the season. He said himself that he played his best football of his career when he was with us. There were rumours that we were very close to signing him permanently from Villa, and then obviously Plymouth came in, who were top of the division above, and just blew us out the water. So you can't blame him for taking that opportunity, but it's not worked out for him there. If he can rediscover his form from last year, then it's a great signing. It'll be interesting to see what we do formation-wise, because he seems to fit more into this 3-4-3 rather than a 3-5-2. He's a winger at the end of the day. He did play parts of games last year up front alongside Cook, so maybe he will fit in a 3-5-2. But it'll be interesting to see what it means regarding outgoings. I think, like I said, they're going to be more interesting than incomings, I think, this window. And Tyreek Wright's arrival's surely going to have knock-on effects. But yeah, on face of it, a great signing. I just hope that he doesn't do a Dion Pereira and rubbish second time he comes back, because that's what happened with him. He was great first time and rubbish second time. So hopefully Tyreek Wright won't do that. But yeah, on the face of it, great signing. It's giving everyone a boost.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Doncaster up next. Few places below you in the league. Are you expecting 3 points from that? Get back on the bandwagon there?
Yeah, we have to be. We played Donny just before Christmas at their place, and I thought they were woeful. I thought they were probably one of the worst sides I'd seen this season. They're obviously a bit of disgruntlement there, because obviously they have high expectations to go back to League One as well, especially with Grant McCann there as manager, who's obviously taken them up before and a bit of a hero there. And they're struggling, so we've got to look to win that game. Like I said, they look really poor. What's been a big miss for us has been Jamie Walker's been injured, and he's been our best player under Alexander, and it's no surprise that these 5 games he's not been playing. He got injured in the Doncaster game just before Christmas. He's had a protective boot on. I believe that there was no break, but he's going to be a couple of weeks before he's back properly. I think he's back on the grass either this week or next week, so he's been a big miss, but we've still got to look to win that game, even though we've not won without him. So, yeah, 3 points is a must, really, to end this run that we're on.
Yeah, absolutely. When you kind of weigh it up then, I mean, what are your hopes for the rest of the season now? I mean, is the playoffs completely gone, do you think, now? Or do you think there's still a little bit of an ambition to get back in it? Or are you just not seeing any kind of evidence that that's even on offer at the moment?
We've got to live in hope. I think it's only 6 points to top 7, but we need to put a run together sooner rather than later. What's interesting is that, like I said, Alexander stuck with the same team until we got beat at, I think we got beat at Crewe, and that was when he changed the team. And now he seems to not really know what his best team and formation is, having previously been settled on it before. I think we need to have a good January. There's certain players at this club that shouldn't be here. They're not good enough. Osadebi's not good enough. He needs to go. I think Young will go. Adam Wilson's not had a look in. Shame, really, because I like what I saw of him. He'll probably go out on loan. So there's a few changes to make in January, and then we'll see. But you can't give up just yet. But I jokingly said to Jay in group chat over there, sooner we get 50 points, the better. That's just me being negative, but we'll see. We'll see.
The Jake Young thing, I mean, he's definitely going then, do you think? I mean, it just feels like it's all pointing in that direction, doesn't it? But, I mean, it's a bit bizarre, isn't it, what's happened there, really?
Yeah, I think he's going. I feel sorry for Graham Alexander because he's the only one answering these questions. And obviously, he's saying that he's not fit and he can't pick him till he's fit, but he's not been told that he can't pick him when he is fit. So that makes that. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. He was injured at Swindon, like I've said before. Michael Flynn said he weren't training, he was just playing, and then he's come back. And obviously, we're not going to play him till he's fully fit. But I believe that whether it's him that's saying he's not fit or whatever, I don't know. There's rumours and conjecture about why he's not playing. He's obviously something around this injury. But yeah, I think he'll go. It'll just be a case of us getting the best feed that we can for him. He's being linked with a few League One clubs, Carlisle again, which is going to be a bit of a stinger if he goes there. But like I said, they've got money. They've been taken over, so and then division above. So why not? If they are offering the best money, then and he's not going to play for us, then fair dues.
Yeah. It's Salford up next Tuesday as well. How do you feel about Salford and the whole Class of '92 thing? I know you've got a Liverpool persuasion as well, aren't you, Gaz? So I can imagine it's a bit of extra incentive to go and beat them. And certainly as a Leeds fan, I hope you do.
Yeah, we don't. I don't think we have a very good record against Salford. I can't remember what the home record's like, but our away record there is not good. I think until last season, I don't think we'd won there. We won 1-0 there last season. It's just a circus, isn't it, at Salford? Gary Neville goes on about what happens in the Premier League, and then he does the exact opposite running his own club at Salford.
You're totally right, yeah.
Do you not think the thing about Salford though is I remember years ago they did the BBC one documentary when they were like in the Dog and Duck League of whenever and they first took over and they had that groundsman. You remember that 99-year-old groundsman that going out, don't go on the pitch, telling the cameraman off. But like they've gone up, they've steamboated up to League Two, and then it's just like deflated, hasn't it? And like they just can't get like. They can't move up the division. They don't look like they're ever going to get promoted. Like it's just a weird. It's a weird club for me.
It's a really odd one, isn't it? I mean, obviously the money that they've thrown at it has worked up to a point, and then suddenly throwing money at it stopped working. And like I said before, Gary Neville preaches all this stuff about the Premier League and then does the exact opposite with Salford about spending money and sticking with managers and all this. I know he said that he's too regret. Actually, funny that obviously Graham Alexander used to manage there, and he said his two regrets with managers were sacking Alexander and sacking Richie Wellens. But he's just a walking contradiction. He's Gary Neville when he does me head in. But that's not just me. That's not just because I like Liverpool. It's just Gary Neville in general, isn't it?
Salford have come up against more stringent financial fair play since they got into the Football League, or should do. That's why they're stagnating. They can't just spend whatever they want like they could when they were paying Adam Rooney $5,000 a week up front. Do you know what I mean? There's more. There's supposedly more financial fair play once you hit the Football League. That's why the likes of Salford and who were the other one, Harrogate, have just sort of found League Two and that's it because they can't just throw money at it or as much money. What you've said is exactly right, Gaz. Neville preaches one thing on Sky Sports and then goes through managers like nobody's business.
It's interesting because obviously Stockport and Wrexham is there some rule in there, like because obviously there's not the salary restrictions in the conference that there is in the league. And I read somewhere, it was ages ago, so I don't know whether it's still true, that they have like a year or 2 years to get the house in order when they get in the league. So like basically Stockport and Wrexham don't have to comply. As soon as they come up into League Two, they've got an advantage because they don't have to comply with the regulations for a year or two. So I don't know. I read that ages ago. I read that.
Well, that's like the other way, though, isn't it? When clubs come down from the Premier League, they have the parachute payments for 3 seasons, and then afterwards, you know, if you don't go back up, they always say if you don't bounce back up within the first season, your percentage of going back up becomes less and less. So I presume it works the other way. Your percentage of going up drains away the longer you're in the league, and obviously Salford have been in for 5-6 years now, so their percentage of going up is pretty much tailed off to whatever the rest of the division is, like what it is for Bradford. But it makes me laugh how 2 clubs have regretted sacking the manager that you've got, and that's what makes me think that it'll work at Bradford. And if you've got an overinflated squad, you will want to get players out and get rid of them, because sometimes having too big a squad can hinder a manager as well as not enough players.
And that's what he said, Steve. He said, like, obviously there's players that just know they're not going to get in the squad on a Saturday, and that's no good for morale.
Yeah.
So he said that he wants a squad of around 24 outfield players. And now we've got there's been a couple of ins and outs already. We did have 31. So it's just too many. And a lot of them weren't good enough. And it was ironic because Ryan Sparks, I don't know if it were, can't remember what interview it was, but beginning of season said we were going leaner and meaner. And then we did that. So everyone's like, that's another stick that people are beating Ryan Sparks with at the moment. Hopefully he'll get a bit of a breather now that we've signed Tariq Knight, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, too many players, needs sorting out, get 4 or 5 more out, and then maybe that'll allow Alexander to bring a couple of his own in, and then we can see where we go from there.
Yeah. What do you guys make of this? Because obviously there's big talk now, obviously, with the announcement with Everton and Forest today. It's likely they're going to be deducted more points in Everton's case. Forest might have point deductions as well. You've even got Newcastle whinging because they can't spend more money, even though they're the richest team in the world. I mean, I don't know whoever wants to kind of jump in first, but is this whole financial fair play, profit and sustainability, is it working? Is it right, do you think?
I'll go first. So, on one hand, you've got Newcastle mourning because they've come into new money, like Man City did. But the rules, when Man City got taken over, they weren't the rules in place then. So that's why Newcastle are aggrieved. But you have to remember, Man City are on about 2 million charges that nobody's ever going to question. I believe, and if Everton both clubs have been said to have done the same thing as what Everton have already been charged with. So Forest are saying that if they'd have sold Brendan Johnson for 30 million to Brentford, they'd have had no problem. But because they waited 2 more months and sold him to Tottenham, they've now been penalised for FFP. Well, that's not the Premier League's problem. It's not the FA's problem. That's Forest's stupid problem. You should know what your accounts is. And Everton, they've been done for the exact same thing that they've already been done for. And their argument is, in the history of football, bar I think Reading in the EFL, there hasn't, maybe Wigan, there's been no double points deduction for any team in the Premier League. You have to remember that the only Premier League team that had ever had a points deduction before was Portsmouth. So there's 2 different cases and 2 different ways of why the clubs are thinking. But to me, if you break the rules, you get punished. And I don't agree that when people say, well, it should be for the season after. No, it should be for the season that it's happening in now. Not for 2 seasons' time when you're in a different situation. That's my personal opinion. Like Reading, to me, the EFL have abandoned all sort of parenthood and are just letting Reading float off into obscurity, and they'll end up being another Bury.
Get Man City stripped of those titles.
Do you know what, guys? I was just going to say, how can Manchester City keep lifting Premier League after Premier League? 115 charges waiting over them. I mean, it's a joke. It just makes a mockery of it.
To me, they should be relegated to the National League North.
I'd love it. I would love it.
Can you imagine?
Don't impose them on us.
We're not in the National League North. You're in the league above.
Thank God that you've relegated them past us as well.
Yeah, you will be bigger than Man City. That's excellent, that, isn't it?
Stockport were telling Man City that. There was a season where Stockport were in 2nd division when City went down to League One, and Stockport love clinging on to that. Absolutely love it. I think they still bring it up to this day.
Well, I don't know whether you guys agree with what I've just said or you disagree, but to me, they've both said that they've acknowledged now that they broke the rules. Well, you should be punished straight away.
Well, isn't that part of the problem that they're saying that Everton have basically complied with everything they've been asked to do, and they've ended up getting charged, and Man City are just putting blocking after blocking after blocking after blocking and fighting it all the way, and that's why it's going to take till like whatever it's going to take for them to get anywhere with these charges.
It will never come to hope, guys. We'll be sat here in 100 years' time continuing to do this podcast, and still Man City won't be charged.
I think it's totally tainted, though. I really do. I think the treble, everything. For me, I just think if I were a Manchester City fan, you've got a black cloud hanging over you, and it's the fact that there's 115 charges, and you've it looks like you've broken the rules to get where you are. You've cheated, basically.
I just love that Forest could be deducted 10 points and could be relegated. That to me, that's excellent news.
Yeah. That'll be a tasty game next year, won't it? If you stay up and they come down.
Oh, guys, honestly, we all need to get to that end. Get in the Forest end, you guys. You could be like secret agent for me. Genuinely, there'll be eruptions.
You're coming to City on Saturday, aren't you, Steve?
No, I can't now, mate.
I was going to
speak to you about it. I actually can't now because I've been asked to work. So, unfortunately, mate, it's one of those Saturdays that I just can't do.
I'll let you off as long as you don't keep talking about Scarborough.
No, I'll let you off, mate. But I do want to come to a City game with you. I do want to do that. But yeah, unfortunately, mate, I can't do Saturday. Plus, I don't want to get COVID, mate, if I'm being totally honest.
That's probably very wise. Yeah. I can't believe that. Like, it's how long's COVID been going on? I hadn't had it, and then suddenly now I get a jab in winter me anyway. But I had a jab, and I'm only one in house who's bloody got it like 4 years on from when it was meant to be.
Mate, I had it before.
I didn't even know it was still a thing.
That's what my mate said. I was talking to him. It's still a thing.
Dave's like, it's not Halifax town news. I'm not interested.
No, honestly, like, I honestly thought that was it. I thought we'd had us jabs and that were it. We were done with it. I didn't realise it was still hanging about.
Yeah, it's clinging on to everybody that hasn't. Well, obviously, Gaz has said that he's had his jabs, but I remember that I had it. I know we've gone on to COVID chat, but basically, I had COVID after one jab. And I genuinely woke up and I couldn't breathe some days. It was horrendous. Really? Yeah. But I was getting in the shower with gloves on and bloody having my shoes on and having showers and it was horrendous. I won't want to live like that ever again.
Yeah, it's grim, beyond grim. Let's cheer ourselves up anyway with this from our group chat earlier. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So just to iterate that. Lou obviously couldn't be on the podcast today, so I said I'd do a match report for Bradford Park Avenue that lost 4-2 to United of Manchester, I think it was.
FC United of Manchester.
Yeah. So basically, Lou said that Bradford Park Avenue were crap. The defenders couldn't defend. The goalkeeper couldn't goalkeep. The midfield didn't run and the strikers didn't score. And it clearly has happened again tonight because they're now 3-0 down to Marine.
It's 3-1 now.
Oh, is it 3-1? Oh, yeah, that'll cheer him up, as well as the chips.
Jordan Preston scored.
The chips and that goal will cheer him up.
Yeah. It's difficult to hear that the goalkeeping's been a problem at Park Avenue because the goalkeeper they're playing at the minute's on loan from another West Yorkshire club. So I'm concerned that Tom Scott's not that good, but hopefully we'll never have to call on him ever.
Yeah.
Because he's never kept a clean sheet for whichever West Yorkshire club I'm referring to either. Even in friendlies, he's played something like 12 games and always conceded at least one goal. So
I can't believe
it doesn't sound good.
I can't believe that you're referring to Leeds United. Can't believe
that. I'll let you have that one. Well, we were hoping to get Lewis on. I don't think we're going to be able to squeeze him into the show because we're just about to finish up now. Really appreciate everyone who's been watching and commenting. If you're watching this later, please do get your comments in and do pop a like on the video if you've been watching it, or if you're listening again later on Spotify, please do leave us a rating and review. And you can subscribe on YouTube and Spotify for more content on all our teams across West Yorkshire as well. I've been Stephen Brown. Joining me has been David Foy from Halifax Town. Great to have you back on the show, Dave.
Yeah, it's been great to be back.
Don't leave it months again, Dave. Come back.
No, I honestly, if it were up to me, I'd be on it every time we recorded or every time you needed me. I really would. I really enjoy it.
There you go. We'll get you on a Leeds United review if you want, mate. You can join me on that one if you want.
Could you imagine what I'd have to add to that? Like, what would I say? Leeds third at the minute. Like, I don't even know what's going on. Have the
no, Dave. The Championship's up. They've won the title by 900 points.
900 points.
We wish. Stephen Downs on Huddersfield Town. Steve, thank you very much. Pleasure as always.
So having him up.
And Really appreciate the effort, Gaz, for coming on as well. Hope you're feeling better soon, mate.
Yeah, get better soon.
So
hopefully I'll still be ill and won't have to go City on Saturday.
Oh wow, that says something, doesn't it?
So no point going now. You're not going, Steve.
See, look what you've done, Steve. Look what you've done, Steve.
I've ruined the chat, and I've ruined it.
Yeah, not good.
What no, man.
Yeah. We'll see you again later. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.